If 2025 is coming upon us, you've got your budget line items there, you're looking at it and you're saying, there's nothing here for me to promote my church with. There's nothing here to get the word out. Or you're looking at your budget and you're like, that's not enough to work with. Well, I'm actually going to share with you why that might be a good thing for you. And if we haven't met before, my name is Justin Nava, founder of Nava Church Marketing, and I help small churches and Christ-centered churches be known in their communities. And one of the greatest ways that we get to exercise our God-given talent and abilities and creative thinking is by actually being inside of a box. I mean, think about it. How many times have you been in ministry and you've had more constraints than freedoms, and God chose to move, and not just move, but move in a way that really showcased his glory, and in a way that, you know what, the restrictions actually got things moving a little bit better. And so one of the things that I get to do as a church marketing consultant in our agency, as well as fulfilling agency services, is to work with churches on, here's what our budget is for the year, here's the timeline of when we can spend money. How do we match that with our goals? And knowing those two things actually helps us create better recommendations and see better results, because we know the confines of what we have to work within. Imagine you walk into a car dealership because you need a new car, and the dealer says, what's the first question he says? How much are you looking to spend per month? Maybe how much are you trying to stay under for the price of the car? If you have no answer, you're going to spend a lot of time with that car salesman looking at cars that you have no business looking at because you can't afford it. And you might be wasting your time looking at cars that are underpowered based on what you have. And much like marketing, the cars can go anywhere from $10,000 to $100,000 or more. And depending on what you need, if you just need to take your kids to school and go to the grocery store, yeah, a $20,000, $30,000 car is going to be all you need. But if you're working on a farm, you have a lot of traveling to do, you got to haul a lot of stuff, you're going to need a $60,000 truck. If you do need a truck, but you don't have 60 grand for a new car, let's go look at used cars. Without knowing what you need as well as what your budgetary limits are, you're not going to have a productive time figuring out what kind of car you need. And the same thing is true with marketing. If you're looking at promoting your church, you want more people to know about your church. You want more people to come to your church, more people calling your church, more people watching online, worshiping online with you, entering into your church fellowship through events or baptism or however you want to get your church out there. If you want more people connecting with you, you have to be known, because when they want church, they're going to search for church. When they want church, they're going to think about church. They're going to think about who they have already heard of, who they trust, who other people are recommending, who Google is recommending. You have to be known. And different ways to be known involve different budgets. If you have no budget, you're going to have to rely a lot on boots on the ground, grassroots, organic outreach. If you have some budget, you can skip a lot of the legwork and go straight to people and pay to put people on your website. And I'm not saying like, hey, here's $5, go visit our website. I'm saying, Facebook, here's $5, find the person that's we're best equipped to serve and show them our church so they can click through and check out our website, right? And so obviously, if you have $1,000, you can do that 200 times. In a meaningful way. I'm not saying $1,000 gets you 200 people to your website. You should get a lot more than that for $1,000. But in a meaningful way, you get that many people checking out, planning a visit to your church. And so knowing your budget constrictions actually allows you to better plan and spend your money. Because with marketing, it's not about how much you spend. Yes, you hear in marketing circles and entrepreneurship circles, whoever can pay the most wins the most. And that's true in business. But in ministry, we got to be good stewards of our money. I mean, as a business owner, you should be a good steward as well, but you don't have the profit margin to make mistakes like churches might. So if you know your budget and you know your goals, how do you get the best amount of, how do you make that dollar go the furthest? And that's what knowing your budget is. So here's a few examples. Number one, if I had a church tell me I have $1,000, what can I do with that $1,000? My first question is, what are your goals? What do you want to see happen? They say, we want to baptize 10 more families this year than we did last year. Okay, perfect. So and then we work backwards from there. We look at your numbers. We figure out, okay, so how many people visit your church? How many people out of those visitations get baptized and become members or join in baptism, whatever you want to call it. And then we look at those numbers and say, okay, so if I had $1,000 and let's say for every 20 people that visit, 5 people join, 1 is by baptism. So that means that we've got to get, what is the math there? If I want an extra 10 families to be baptized, we got to get 200 visitors. Now, how do we get 200 visitors for $1,000? Well, you can't just print 20,000 flyers and hope that works. You have to work backwards, knowing your numbers to then know what you can invest in. And if you've got to get 200 visitors, you can only pay $5 per visitor to come in with your $1,000 budget. You got to figure out how can you get someone to plan a visit for $5. You got to get a little bit more creative. If you have a larger budget, say you've got 5,000, well, now we can run a campaign. How long does that $5,000 have to last? If you want to bring it all into people for Easter, you want to bring it all for Christmas, you want to spread it out over a few events, I recommend doing an ongoing campaign. You can run an ongoing campaign for less than that, constantly inviting people to your church and getting people to your church. We've seen churches pay as little as $7 to get someone visiting the church, which means if you've got a 1 in 10 visitors, 1 join, $70, you got a church member. And this isn't paying for views. This isn't paying for seats. This is simply paying to get in front of people that then the Spirit works within to bring them to church, using you and the platform as the medium. In the same way that he sends us in the mission field, well, hey, guess what? The new mission field is online. So all that to say, don't get lost in the weeds. Don't get lost in the math here. I spent a lot of years getting lost in that and thinking I was better than that. But really what it was is I was ignoring what we call being a good steward, weighing the investment versus the value versus what the outcome is. Because look, we budget for discipleship now. We budget for youth camp. We budget for services. We budget for special events. We budget for musicians because we know it's going to create the atmosphere in which we can nurture relationships, make disciples, and the Spirit can move and call people to him and use us as the medium. We now have a new medium. We used to go out to coffee shops. Now we can go on Facebook. We used to go to the park. I mean, we should still, by the way. We used to go knocking on doors. Now we can show up in Google. And so all that to say, it's if you feel like you're just like, man, I wish I didn't have this budget. I wish I had more money. Well, if you had more money, you might be more a little frivolous to look into the wrong thing just because you can afford it. Again, just because you have 60 grand doesn't mean you should go buy a fully loaded F-150 when all you needed was a Nissan Altima, just a nice economical thing. So if you have a budget, don't immediately look at it like a bad thing. This could be a good thing. This could be something to spark creativity in your mind, in your ministry, and allow God to work with little, right? Little becomes much in the master's hands. We don't need a whole lot as churches, especially as small churches. We understand the value of hacking things together, piecing things together, relying on elbow grease rather than outsourcing. And hey, as an agency, I'm not afraid to say that. So if you do have little to work with, that's okay. That's a blessing. What I recommend is take a look at what's working out there within the confines. It's very easy for a marketer to come in and say, you need to do this and you need to do this and you need $2,500 for an agency for us to do. It's like, bro, if you only got $1,000, here's what you can do to give yourself the best chance or to make the most of what you have to bring those 10 families or 200 families with that $1,000. God can do a lot with a little. And if you have a little right now, don't forget that he's in control and he's given us that to steward well. Let's steward it well and not blow it on some recommendation that really has no sense being made when you only have $1,000. So if you want some help with that, what we have is a next steps call. You can give me a call. We'll spend 15 minutes on the phone, learn a little bit about what your budget is, or maybe you see something that you want to do. You feel God saying, your Facebook ads, there are people out there that need us that don't know about us. We need some search engine optimization. There are people out there searching and we're on page 3. I'd be happy to help you with that. We have something called a next steps call. I'll have a link down below. And on that call, we'll jump on, learn a little bit about your church, a little bit about your situation, where you want to go, where you feel God's calling you to, and how you can best get there using modern marketing methods. It's not for everyone. I understand if you're like, no, we're old school. We're just going to do boots on the ground, word of mouth. God bless you. I want you to thrive. I don't want you to fail, even if you don't use us. But if you do, or you just have some questions about what does this look like for us, link down below, navachurchmarketing.com/next steps. That will put you on my calendar, and you and I can have a quick call to figure out what's going to make the most sense with what you have next. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, click the like button down below, and I'll see y'all in the next video.